Hi, it's Sue here. What I'm doing today is just potting up some of these Dahlia seedlings. I planted the seeds about 5 weeks ago, and as you can see they've come on quite nicely. But what I'm going to do today is pot them all into their own individual pots so they've got a bit more space to start properly growing. Now what I've got is a pot the same size as the main pot, but then what I do is put a little square of kitchen roll, or it can be newspaper or anything porous, in the bottom to allow the drainage, but don't allow the compost to fall through. So what we need to do is just tip this pot up, give it a slight squeeze, and then you'll see all the plants there with the roots growing quite nicely. And all you need to do is peel them apart. Easy to do, just go very gently that you don't break the shoots or the roots, and that's your plant for potting on. Now what I've done, I've put some compost in this pot here. I'm using Miracle Grow multi-purpose peat-free compost, so I've put that in the pot there. And then what you do, I mean, it's different people have different ways of doing this, but what I do is just make a dip in the middle of the pot there. I don't know if you can see, hopefully, just to push it to the side, and then you've got a nice little dip where you can put the plant. So lift one up, pop him in, and then fill around with some more compost. Now don't press it down too hard because you don't want to break the little plant, but obviously you want it to be settled enough that it's going to grow on. So there we are, and then that'll have its own bit of space, and hopefully will start growing in a few weeks time, and fill out the pot ready for planting out later on. So I'm going to leave you there for a minute and pot up the rest, and then I'll come back and show you what to do next. Hello, I'm back. I've potted up all the individual little seedlings, look, and surprisingly we've got 9 all out of one pot. It's amazing to think that they was all squashed in together, but hopefully now they've got a bit more room to get going. So what we need to do now, now the compost I've used is sort of damp, so I probably won't water these too much anyway. But see, these are just ordinary bits out of your recycling that you can use anything, just as long as it holds a little bit of water. So you can just have a rummage through, see what you can find. Now what I'm going to do is just put some of these into one of these trays. Get 3 into there. That was a bacon tray. So there you go. And then we can get this little one here. We get a couple in there. There we are, just about. And we just make sure that we've got something to actually stand them in for watering and draining off. Okay, now some people will say water from the top and others water from underneath, but what I would say is, I mean, obviously it's sort of personal preference, but if you water from the top, just go really gently, because obviously you don't want to dislodge all the compost or break the plant. So just do this very gently, and make sure that the water is coming right through, because if you've got dry compost, you don't want to just water the top sort of little section and then find that the roots haven't actually had any water. But what I normally do is just water from the bottom, leave it for about half an hour or so, and then just check make sure that the compost is damp at the top. I mean, this that I was using is sort of a damp compost anyway. And then just make sure that you take your pots out like this and just drain them off. See, the water will just come off the bottom of the pot, because the last thing you need is your pot sitting in cold water, because that's a definite no. So there we are. So once you've potted them up, watered them, drained them off, and then just leave them to their own devices. Just keep a check on them after a few days, just to make sure they're not drying out too much, depending on where you're actually standing them, because obviously if they're in a warmer place they're going to dry out quicker and need more watering. But if they're in a greenhouse or conservatory or something that's not too warm, then they won't need watering too much. So there we are. I'll say bye for now, and I'll see you soon.